What's going on, Eurovoxers? I'm joined by Justin, all the way from Australia. Justin, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you, Stuart?
Doing pretty good. Today we're talking about Denmark. We're kind of coming towards the end of the national selection season, and one of the last to be choosing will be Denmark with Dansk Melodi Grand Prix. So let's talk about some of the songs that are up for the selection. So we've got 8 songs that are in the running to represent Denmark for Eurovision this year. I have to say, lots of 80s again, which is something that we've seen. It's a bit of a recurring theme in the national selections in other countries, but also quite a few Danish songs. In fact, half of them are in the Danish language. Justin, I'm curious, what are your overall thoughts of these songs?
Overall, I've been fairly impressed. I'm not that familiar with the show. I've never really watched it or paid attention to it before. I do love the fact that there are a lot of songs in the Danish language. I wish a lot more countries. I mean, I know countries do have a lot of songs in their national language. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, you know, it's always nice to see because, like, thinking about Eurovision overall, it is overwhelmingly English. But in the last few years, we have seen a trend towards more native languages. So, without further discussing it, let's actually get to it. This first one is in English, but it's one of the favorites. It's between 2 songs. This one is one of the ones that's leading some of the fan polls. This is the Cosmic Twins, and their song is called Silver Bullet.
Now you're shooting silver bullets through my heart. I was foolish to believe you one more time. You're the queen.
So as we mentioned before, we've got some 80s sounds in here. This one's pretty straight up 80s. Tell me, what do you think? What do you think of the Cosmic Twins?
I think it's definitely a strong contender. I love the 80s vibe. I'm a child of the 80s. But out of all the songs that do have that 80s kind of vibe, I think this one is one of the strongest. Good vocals, good tracks, with good staging. I definitely think this could be a front runner.
Me too. And, you know, I think that there's something about the fact that these are, you know, 2 guys, they're twins. You know, they've got kind of that fresh-faced pop star look for, you know, young gentlemen. So I think that there is potential here in terms of the people that they are. And the song, not necessarily a favorite of mine, but I see it as being quite well-rounded considering the 8 songs in this selection. And I do definitely like that there's some sax in there. It could be a great moment for us to see something different, or, you know, maybe something that we've kind of seen before, but maybe not, you know, diving too much into that meme that we're all familiar with. But certainly a threat. Would it be your number one choice though, if you were to choose which song to win?
No, this would be my number 2. There is another song that for me personally, it hits all my criteria that I'm looking for in a winning song.
Okay, fair enough. So like I said, it's not a favorite of mine, but I can see the potential here. So let's go to the other song that seems to be leading fan polls as well. It really just seems to be between this and the Cosmic Twins. This is Nicoline, and her song is in Danish. So I'm going to stick with the English translated title, which is Standing Here. Let's listen.
Jeg står lige her. Du kigger dig omkring. Din hjælp er nær. Men du ser ingenting. Jeg står lige her.
So there we have another 80s kind of synth pop sounding song. This one's got, you know, quite a hard beat to it. I'm curious how you feel about this one.
This is the song that is my personal winner. I can't even express the feeling I get when I hear it. I agree with the general consensus. I think this is definitely the favorite to win.
Could be, yeah. And again, I would say that considering all of these songs, it is pretty well-rounded. Certain things that I like about it is that there's a synth hook that kind of offsets the vocals in the chorus. So, you know, you got a little bit of a mix of, you know, some singing and then some instrumentation to mix it up a little bit. And yeah, I mean, when we're thinking about contemporary music, this definitely fits into this kind of 80s revival that we're seeing. And we've discussed a little bit about this song off camera as well. And you said that you think that if this song was translated into English as well, it could see some international success.
Absolutely. I think it's one of the most current sounding songs. I could see it charting in Europe.
Could be, yeah. So, I mean, I would say for myself as well, between these two apparent favorites, and, you know, of course, we're considering like fan polls, which isn't always telling the full story, but it's still something to be said if you can resonate with that amount of people. For me, this would be the one between Cosmic Twins and Emma. But nonetheless, let's move on to some of the other songs in this selection. And, you know, apart from the fact that there is a lot of 80s and a lot of throwback sounds, there is some musical variety. And this next one might be a bit of a surprise for some people. This is Mike Tramp, and his song is called Everything Is All Right.
One for the money, two, don't let it go. Three, 'cause you want it. Four, you better know. Five, you can make it. Six, and now you're gonna stay.
So there we have something for the country fans out there. Justin, how do you feel about this one?
This was the one that surprised me the most. I'm not the biggest fan of like that country vibe, but I did connect with this song. I think it could be a wild horse.
Yeah, you know, again, a bit surprising to see this coming from Denmark. And thinking about genres, when it comes to country at Eurovision, that spot tends to be occupied by the Netherlands. I wouldn't expect to see that this year, considering that they've invited back Jean-Louis Macroy, and we should be hearing his song soon. If you know, by the time this video is published, it might already be out. But I would highly doubt that that would be a country song. So this could really find its place if it were to be selected. You know, it doesn't seem to be like a big favorite as far as fan polls go. But, you know, certainly something that, you know, country fans could really appreciate. I do feel like overall, like the song itself, it does feel a little bit flat, and I'm kind of waiting for it to build up to a moment. But I don't know, if this were to go to Eurovision, do you see this finding that country audience, or perhaps could it get overlooked?
I don't know about finding a country audience. I mean, country youth, as in the past, typically worked quite well. But I think it definitely will stand out a lot compared to a lot of the other songs that we have selected so far.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see like what else, because, you know, at this point, at the point of recording this video, we only have 12 songs. There might be a bunch of others released by the time it gets posted. But nonetheless, it would be really interesting to see how this would compare to all of those. But nonetheless, let's move on to another song, which, you know, is kind of giving us a break from the 80s indulgence that we've got from some of these other songs. This is Claudia Campagnol, and her song is called Abracadabra.
Abracadabra, come back to me. Abracadabra is what I need. Wonder how you are, wonder if your heart's breaking like mine.
So this one's quite stripped back when compared to some of the other songs here. It's, you know, just piano and a little bit of orchestration. What do you feel about Claudia's song?
I have very mixed feelings about this song. I love her voice. I love the melody of the song. The thing that I can't really connect with is the flow of the lyrics. They're a little bit not jarring, but I just, yeah, it's not connecting with me that greatly.
I know what you mean. For me, there does seem to be something that's missing. As far as like a narrative goes, I can get behind it, this idea of, you know, wanting to bring somebody back in an instant with a spell. Excuse me. But yeah, perhaps it's lacking some hard-hitting lines that really convey that feeling. Nonetheless, considering that this is a stripped-back song, it could really shine with a solid vocal performance. In fact, it would probably need one to really, really be a favorite. I think you also made some comparisons to a singer that we've seen from Austria, Panda. The quality of her voice was reminding you of her?
Yes. Just the timbre of her voice, and just she does have a very distinct and unique voice, just like Panda did. immediately that's who I was drawn back to when I heard the song.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, that song, I don't know how you felt about that song in 2019, but it was one that I really enjoyed. When it came to the performance, it wasn't really going to go far, and the results kind of proved that for us. But nonetheless, if this were to advance to the last round, or if it were to even be chosen, if it were even to be chosen, I really wouldn't mind myself. Let's go on to something that is bringing us back to the 80s in probably the biggest way out of all of the songs. Again, we've got a title here in Danish that's really long and quite complicated, so let's just play it.
Ingen ved, hvordan man gør så. Lad os øve os på hinanden. Lige om lidt er vi to voksne. Du er kvinden, jeg er mand.
So that's Fyr and Flamme, and this, of course, is a lot more disco than some of the synth pop 80s sounding songs that we've had. Justin, how do you feel about it?
It's in the middle of my listings. The thing that I think gets me with it is it's that cheesy 80s pop, and I love a bit of cheesy 80s pop.
Yeah, I think that this will definitely have its audience. I think Andy pointed this one out because he's mentioned many times that he loves 80s music and he would really want to see this kind of song go for Denmark. Not really my thing. I have to talk about this translation though, because when I looked at it on Google Translate, it came out as practice on each other, and I'm kind of like, okay, that can't really be it. But then I looked at a full translated text, and that's what it was. And I can only feel like there's only so many, interpretations of that as practice on each other. Supposedly, it's just about dancing. However, there could obviously be, a deeper meaning here in the lyrics. Staging wise, this could be really fun. What do you think we could be seeing on stage with this?
It definitely lends itself to some out there crazy staging, which we don't often see from Denmark. This is one of the ones I'm excited to see the staging for.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Despite my own feelings about the song, if it is, fun and, a moment that we can like laugh at, or maybe if it's even got a bit of a Daddy Frere thing going on where there's a clear joke on stage that it doesn't take itself too seriously, but is, it keeps that element of fun, then I wouldn't mind, certainly. But let's move on to something that is giving us a completely different sound. It is also quite a bit of a throwback, but from a different era, I would say. This is Chief One and Thomas Buttenschøn with their song that translates to High Above the Clouds.
Må sætte mig af sted, højt over skyerne, i kredsene med stjernerne, vi vender aldrig tilbage, ja, du tog mig med.
So there we go. This one definitely has quite the Motown vibe going on here, and another entry that I would say is unexpected from Denmark. How do you feel about this one?
Meh. No, it's good. It's catchy. It's got a nice vibe. I think in the battle of the decades, for me personally, it's at the bottom.
Fair enough. I don't know. Again, because it's something that I didn't expect, I'm kind of leaning towards this. There isn't really much to go off of, lyrically, obviously, because I'm not really fully grasping the meaning of the song. But it does have that kind of feel good classic sound. Thinking about my parents and the music that they listened to and the music that they would play when I was younger. So I got exposed to this sound, and it's one that I have a bit of nostalgia for, despite not really being alive in that era. So I don't know. I think that at least I'm going to be looking forward to how they're going to communicate that on stage. I don't know if you have any ideas for how this is going to look, because I'm drawing a blank myself.
I'm seeing, honestly, when I hear the song, the visual that I get is the hoorays from Sweden.
That's a Diggy-Loo, Diggy-Lay?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Different era, I know, but that's what I see.
Okay. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that it's not that. It's something else, but I take your point. Let's move on to something else. This will take us a little bit back into the 80s, although I would say that this does it in a little bit more of a subtle way than some of the other songs that we've seen here. This is Jean-Michel, and his song is called Beautiful.
We are beautiful, we'll make it through it, all knowing we're perfect, you and I, just the way we are.
So there we go. Justin, I want to know, what are you feeling about this one?
This one, I'm definitely, I understand the message of the song. I like the song. I think with some good staging, or not even good staging, quality staging, this could be a surprise. Yeah,
this one, I would say, kind of, brings us into the 21st century a little bit more than the others, which, obviously acknowledging that 80s music is popular right now. But I feel like this one does it in a way that, strikes a balance a little bit more. And I think that that's worked effectively in some other selections, thinking about Croatia and the song that won with that, with Dora, Albina, and TikTok. That was one that had a little bit of an 80s sound to it with the bass line and, having kind of a disco beat, but for the most part had modern production. And I think like this song, it's got like a nice instrumental break after the chorus. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that if they really nail the staging here, this could be done quite well. I will say that, like, the song, the lyrics are a little bit familiar and a bit cheesy, but sonically, I'm enjoying this one quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, any thoughts on the songwriting here?
I believe I've said it before. This is the one that reminds me of an Ed Sheeran style song. It is a little light on content in depth, but it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, for me, as long as it's not bothering my ears, I think I can I can live with it, even if it's not necessarily reinventing the wheel lyrically. And now let's move on to the very last one. This is Nanna Olivia, and her song translates to Restless Hearts.
Du har prøvet at give slip, og du har prøvet på at glemme, men du kan bare ikke få mod de drømme. Du kan få de hvem du vil have, men det kun er ham tilbage. Prøv på at give slip.
So there we have the last of our 8 songs. Justin, what do you feel?
This one is, when I go back through the list of the songs, this is the one that I struggle to remember. It's not my least favorite by far. I have trouble remembering this song.
Yeah, I kind of have the same problem. And like looking at the music, there really isn't anything specific that I can say puts me off it. But yeah, it is really just that I find it a bit hard to remember exactly how it sounds like. And I suppose that, like, at the end of the day, it's really not a great thing going for it. But also considering the fact that it is a song in Danish, it could be lyrically genius, and maybe people really, really like it. It's hard to say. I would be curious to know what the Danish fans think of this. But nonetheless, like, I don't really have anything to take away from it. I guess this is really like the biggest question mark in terms of how it's going to look, how it's going to perform. I feel like when it comes to Denmark, there tend to be surprises in terms of which songs resonate with their public. Yeah, I don't know. Could you see this performing well in any way? Maybe if the vocals are really on point?
I think this is one of the ones that's going to have to rely a bit more on the staging. I could see it coming sort of middle of the pack, if I'm being honest, though.
So those are the 8 songs that are up for the selection in Denmark. Justin, I want to know, which one of these songs do you think is going to be taking home the ticket to Rotterdam?
For me, Emma Nicoline, Står, lige, hjerter.
Okay. I have a feeling it's going to the Cosmic Twins, but if it was Emma and Nicoline, then I would probably be happiest, which isn't to say that I would be unhappy if it was the Cosmic Twins, but it just seems like in terms of the response that they've been getting, and I've seen that there's been some buzz on social media about them. That would be where I would place my bet. Also, I would be curious to know, because we're only going off of so much, there could be a surprise here, and if one of these were to be an oddball choice for you, which one would it be?
For me, I'm gonna have to go with Mike Tramp. I think a country song this year, I think, really would cut right through. And yeah, I wouldn't be upset if he won.
Okay. Yeah, as we were mentioning before, it seems that would really fill in a gap that we don't currently see in the selection. For me, it would probably be the Fyr Flamme song, because again, like this could be something that's really entertaining on stage, and maybe that will be the real selling point. We've seen a lot with Melodifestivalen in Sweden that the light-hearted entries that normally would be looked over in favor of pop songs have actually been advancing, and some of those pop songs have been left behind in the semifinals. So maybe that's the case in Denmark. Maybe it'll be something else completely different. But guys, we want to know what you think about Dansk Melodi Grand Prix, and which ones are your favorites? Which ones do you think are going to win the whole thing in the end? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to Eurovoxx, because we're making videos all about the national selections as they happen, as well as the internally selected songs, which are coming out seemingly on a day-by-day basis. So you want to make sure that you're following us at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And our website is Eurovoxx.tv, where you can find articles and news updates about the Eurovision Song Contest as it approaches, because it's less than 100 days away. I think we're probably around the 80, 70-day mark now. So it's coming up, and we'll want you guys to be around with us while we're covering it all. Thank you so much for joining us in this video, and we will see you on the next one. Take care.
Bye.
We'll be right back.